So I started writing I Saw a Man quite a long time ago now, in 2007, 2008, when I was actually based here in New York. I was at the Cullman Center in the public library. And I'd gone there actually to write another book. But I think, you know, living in New York, the city and the people that I was meeting, it has to be said, I was meeting a couple of immersion journalists, and I became very interested in the role of the immersion journalists, these writers who immerse themselves completely into their subjects' lives and then retreat to a desk and take themselves out of the story and write these non-fiction books using a novelistic technique. And I was very interested in that, and that certainly ends up having an important influence upon the novel. But it started with this very strong image of a man entering his neighbour's house, and then I had a very unfamiliar process for me in terms of the writing process of the book. Normally, I'm a writer who needs to know where he's going. You know, obviously how I get there will often change, but I need to know what happens on the last page. And that was still true with I Saw a Man, but I think normally I've been quite fortunate with my previous books in that I've found the voice of the story, the voice of the book, relatively quickly. And that wasn't the case with I Saw a Man. I think there are all sorts of reasons for that. One, I think, being that geographically, place takes a long time to distill through you to a position where you can actually write about it. So I think I actually needed a distance of years before I could write about places like New York and Nevada, which also appears in the novel. So I actually wrote the first 10,000 words of the book 3 times. I wrote 3 sets of 10,000 words and then ditched them, which, as you can imagine, was a bit of a psychological kick in the teeth. I also write poetry, and it's much easier when a poem doesn't work, because you're just striking your pen through a single page, not 10,000 words. But actually that was crucial. And I always think actually that that weight of unwritten words is as much a part of the novel as the finished book between the covers, because without that you don't get to where you need to be. And I think for me it was about writing towards an authentic voice for the book. So each time that happened, actually, I would go off and write something else, a play, or I'd work on a TV documentary or a film script. So actually, I Saw a Man ended up being a very slow burn of a novel, in that the story and the characters stayed with me as familiars, even when I wasn't working on it, sometimes for years at a time. And then looking back at it now, actually, I think I was quite lucky, because what that slow burn does is that it really settles you into a story, and you start to sense, you know, perhaps where you were about to make a wrong turn or not. But then the actual writing of the first draft happened very quickly. I wrote the first draft in 3 months, which again is not something that I would usually do. But I think I was only able to do that because of that 7-year slow burn. And although, I mean, that was tough. You know, writing something in 3 months, you go a little bit crazy. Looking back on it, I was really, really grateful, because I hope that the book benefits from the combination of that longer distillation period, but then also that sort of hothousing period, which I think as a writer I do quite enjoy, because you live in the idiolect of the book. You absolutely live with those characters and their actions in a very intense way. And then obviously I've since revisited it for a couple of drafts.